In our last video, we discussed the differences between good copywriting and other good writing. In today's lesson, we're going to discuss more tips on making your copywriting world-class, all of which come from some of the best copywriters and advertisers out there. The best way to become a master copywriter is to imitate the experts. In this video, we explore some of the lessons taught by 10 of the best copywriting experts in the field today, and also of all time. You see, to become a master copywriter, you need to imitate and learn from the best in the field. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Tactics that worked in copy hundreds of years ago largely still work today. You simply need to tweak the way you use them to make your own. Copywriting has existed since the dawn of advertising, which is to say hundreds of years. While internet marketing has of course changed copywriting, core lessons remain much the same, and you can take advantage of this fact by learning these lessons from the greats now. No discussion of copy could be complete without a discussion of David Ogilvy. While technically a Mad Men-style ad man, not a copywriter per se, Ogilvy is considered the father of modern advertising, and for many copywriters, the father of copywriting as we know it today. His world-renowned advertising philosophy is key for anyone trying to sell, especially copywriters. According to Ogilvy, there's 4 components of a successful ad, or a successfully written piece of copy. You should take each of these to heart and apply them when writing copy. First is creative brilliance. Copy needs to be imaginative, as we said before. Beyond that, says Ogilvy, it needs to have a big idea, a core concept that shapes and creates the copy you read. This forms the backbone of everything you write and lets you naturally create the body of the text. Second, you need to do extensive research. Ogilvy reminds you to stuff your conscious mind with information, so you have plenty to work with. Copy needs to be based in real, thorough research, and should be the bulk of your actual work as a copywriter. Third, you need to get measurable results. That means that you need to adjust your copy until it converts successfully. Finally, you need professional discipline. Copywriting can take many attempts to get right, so it's vital that you not give up. These 4 lessons make up the backbone of Ogilvy's philosophy, but as the leading expert, he has tons to teach you. To give you a better idea of some of these, here are 3 quotes that sum up his important lessons. First, as Ogilvy says, the big idea is key to creating copy that sells big. He says, you can do your homework from now until doomsday, but you'll never win fame and fortune unless you also invent big ideas. It takes a big idea to attract the attention of consumers and get them to buy your product. Unless your advertising contains a big idea, it'll pass like a ship in the night. Copy's meaningless without a bit of depth. You need to connect with the customer and connect with the product so that you can sell without effort. The second quote is one of my favorites. Ogilvy reminds us, the consumer isn't a moron. She's your wife. You insult her intelligence if you assume that a mere slogan and a few vapid adjectives will persuade her to buy anything. Copy isn't meant to simply fill space on a web page. It's the key way we communicate with the customer. A simple slogan or hollow words aren't enough. You have to make the copy convey a clear, concise message. Finally, don't ever forget the purpose of copy. It's ultimately not to entertain, it's to sell. In the modern world of business, it's useful to be a creative, original thinker, unless you can sell what you create. Creative copy means nothing unless it converts, so don't ever lose sight of that big goal. Of course, Ogilvy's just one man. Thousands of copywriters out there have perfected the art of copywriting, and you can learn from any one of them. The 9 copywriters who follow have some excellent advice that will help you master the craft. Victor Schwab was one of the first modern copywriters, author of How to Write a Good Advertisement and a true master. He reminds us that poor copy cannot overcome faults or gaps in dealer distribution, cannot even cash in on the finest dealer setups, but good copy can and does surmount many dealer difficulties, making them secondary and selling in spite of them. If you're writing copy, you can sell in spite of any flaw in the product with the right words. When you create a want in your customer, They'll be perfectly happy to overlook the product's flaws in order to continue to like your copy. The opposite's also true. The very best product will not sell well if the copy that's sharing the information can't engage them long enough to trust its value. Of course, this has limits. No copy can overcome the worst flaws of a product after a long time. But good copy can get them in the door, and at least give your product a shot. As legendary copywriter and protege of Ogilvy, Gary Bencivenga reminds us, effective copywriting is salesmanship in print, not clever wordsmithing. The more self-effacing and invisible your selling skill, the more effective you are. Copywriters who show off their skills are ineffective as a fisherman who reveal the hook. It's important to remember that while clever lines and witty sayings may be fun to create as a writer, it's not the purpose of copywriting. You need clarity over persuasion. In fact, clear and concise copy will return greater rewards than being clever almost 100% of the time. So don't let the temptation to be clever overcome the clear message that you need to convey. Put this first, and you'll be much more persuasive. Bob Bly, America's copywriter, is famous for encouraging clarity in copywriting as well. He goes even farther, though, saying, it's not enough to convince prospects that you have a great product or a superior service. You must also show them that the value of your offer far exceeds the price you're asking for it. You must convey not just the purpose, but also the value of anything you're trying to sell. This has to be obvious to the reader. Subtlety only loses the value, creating a missed opportunity. You need to give so much value that any price seems insignificant, to the point that your customer is dying to take the action you're trying to encourage. In fact, Bly teaches 8 fundamentals of persuasive copywriting that give this value. Persuasive copy gains attention. It focuses on the customer. It stresses benefits, not functions. It differentiates you from the competition by giving you an only factor. It doesn't just spew facts. It proves its case logically, step by step. It establishes credibility using outside sources and measurable data. It closes with a call to action that leaves you wanting to say yes. And finally, it builds value during each of these steps, so that you have such a high value by the time the price is mentioned that it really doesn't matter. In keeping with persuasion methods used by the greats, we must mention Steve Sloan-White. Sloan-White, a very successful copywriter today, says, in my experience, the number one key to persuasion is this: communicate trust. If you do this well, you'll at least have a chance at engaging and persuading the reader. If you don't do this well, however, no amount of fancy copywriting techniques will save you. Trust is vital in making a sale. Even the best writers will have no success copywriting if they don't know how to give credibility to what they're writing. Credibility can be built into your copy in many ways. You can give testimonials, both by other average users and by celebrities. The more specific, the better. Other third-party credibility indicators help, such as awards, media coverage, agency ratings, survey results, etc. Even giving real data about your product in the copy helps. Rather than saying, our customers love us, say 95% of our customers buy our product again or resubscribe. This data gives the words power and credibility. We're so used to advertising in our lives that we're pretty much willing to discount anything, unless it's backed up by facts. Richard Perry, a highly sought-after copywriter in the corporate world, has another method to make copy persuasive. He says, I employ Winston Churchill's tremendous whack theory, which says that if you have an important point to make, don't try to be subtle or clever. Use a pile driver. Hit the point once, then come back and hit it again. Then hit it a third time. A tremendous whack. Use repetition, especially in threes, to drive your point home. This technique is used constantly by successful copywriters. Emails almost always have 3 links to encourage you to click through. Long-form web pages use 3 calls to action to try and get the customer to opt in. The power of 3 is even used in social media, such as by tweeting the same idea in 3 different ways. If something is important, say it at the beginning, again at the end, and sometime in the middle. Use repetition to give your copy that extra oomph it needs to convert. Another well-known copywriter, Shirley Polikoff, reminds us, however, that it's not all about being persuasive. Copy's a direct conversation with the customer, and it should be treated as such. That means that you should speak to the customer in a natural way through the copy. This includes, of course, natural language, slang, and other linguistic tropes to make the world seem familiar. But it also means that you must treat the customer like a friend. Don't speak down to them, and don't let the copy ramble. Make it seem like a real conversation by including places where they should naturally respond in their head to you. That way, when you ask them to take the desired action, it seems like the most natural thing in the world to the audience. They want to do as you ask because it's the next logical step in your conversation. It's their turn to act. Another way to make copy conversational is to ask questions that get them to the yes before you officially ask it of them. As Paris Lampropoulos, A-list direct copywriter, puts it, in sales copy, I throw a question here and there, but more often I'll phrase it as a statement. You know, one of those statements that gets prospects nodding in their heads. If your customer is nodding along and agreeing with you along the way, they want to tell you and officially give you that conversational yes by taking the action asked in the call to action. It's a classic persuasion technique that goes all the way back to Socrates. The more often you can get prospects to say yes, the more likely they are to say yes again. If they're saying yes and nodding their heads, you've hooked them. They'll take action, and they'll want to continue your conversation. To do this, though, you need to know your customer, a fact that George Gribbin knows all too well. Gribbin, a successful advertiser, knows that it's impossible to converse with your customer naturally or ever get a yes unless you understand them. He said it well. Copywriters should have an understanding of people, an insight into them, a sympathy towards them. How can you understand your product's value if you don't understand your prospect's needs? You can't. That's why you need to get in their head and actually have sympathy for them in order to successfully copywrite. It's not enough to simply think you know what they want. You have to sympathize with the problem that brought them to your product, and then present it as a solution by addressing the specific concerns that apply to your ideal customer. Of course, these tactics will only go so far. Famed advertising executive and one of the most influential business leaders of the 20th century, Leo Burnett, boils down the essence of copywriting well when he said, "Make it simple, make it memorable, make it inviting to look at, make it fun to read." Get your customer to read your copy by making it look nice, making it short and sweet, and most importantly, making it fun. If you can follow his tips as a framework and use all the other tricks from the best copywriters, you'll go far. Copy's meant to sell, so any tactic that you can make work for you is best. But simple, memorable, inviting, fun copy is going to win almost every time. Now that you've learned some important tips from the masters of copywriting, start employing them in your copy to see it transform the readability and conversion of every piece you write. Your copy can be amazing, not just good. It can blow your clients away and really convert. As David Ogilvy urges, aim for the company of immortals with your copy. When you do, you too can become a master copywriter. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing from some of the greatest copywriters out there today. Make sure to watch the next video, which sums up this section of our course and answers the question, can anyone be a master copywriter?